And hello everyone, welcome back to another TKinter course. So in the previous video we just learned how to create a basic, let me just run here, how to create a basic application. So here we go, that's how to create a basic application. But most of the time your application will be a little bit more complex than this. So I'm going to show you the two ways of putting things onto this window right here. So let's get started. Now the first way is of course to just pack him on here. So if I were to just do this, then this packing will put the things underneath each other. Just like that, it will just put them underneath each other. So if we go like that, then as you can see, they're just going underneath each other. That's what pack does. It doesn't really do anything more than that. It's usually if you want a basic program and you don't really care too much about the look, or the program is so basic that the look doesn't really matter that much. So if you just pack it, it's perfectly fine. So that's what you use pack for. So just take note that if one is going to be longer than the rest, then this is how it will look, as you can see there. So they're all center aligned. So that's pack. It just puts them underneath each other. Now there's one more thing that you can use, and that is grid. So of course we could put these labels inside of variables. So let's actually do that. Let's put some labels inside of variables, but you don't need to. It's optional. Just like with pack, you can put them here at the end. You can do the same with what we're going to do right now. And the same can be applied to pack with variables. So if we put this in a variable, you can also put pack afterwards. It doesn't really matter. Anyhow, so if we go here and call this label A, and let's actually copy this so we can have three labels, and we can call this label B and this label C. Here I'm going to just say label A, and I'm just going to copy that part there, and I'm going to just go like that, paste that there, and I can just say B and C. Whoops. Okay, and we can remove the dot pack. So most of the time when you would put these inside variables is if you want to modify them later on, or if you just want to keep your code organized. So let me show you an example of how you could use these labels. So you can just say a.pack, and this will pack it, and b.pack, that will pack it as well. c.pack, that'll pack it as well. Because remember, variables are just containers. If you took my basic Python course, you'd know that variables, they just basically say that, but you put it inside of a letter, or you put it inside of a word instead of having to type this out every time. Anyhow, you can save that, and if you run this, you'll get the exact same effect. Label A, B, and C put underneath each other and centered. Great. Now the next way to do things is using a grid system. Because let me actually open up a drawing application here, just so I can show you. Now most applications won't do this. So if you could just go like this. Wow. Okay. Let's imagine this is the application. Most application won't have a box here, a box here, a box here. Most of them won't do that. That's too linear. I'm just going to increase my pencil size here as well. So that's not going to happen. In most cases, you'd actually maybe find something like this. Maybe this is a box and it says like name or something. And then here you have like an input next to it where you can like put in your name. So let's say Jack, for example. And maybe you'll have a button next to it that you can like submit. And yeah, it just goes, instead of going downwards like that, it goes sideways. But the nice thing is, with using a grid, is that you can not only go sideways, but you can also go downwards. So you can have another thing here. Maybe you can be like enter age, so this can be like age. And then here you may have like a list of ages. So you have like a bunch of options here, and you'll be like 0 to 12 and 13 to 19 or something like that. And you can just ask the user to check the one they're at. And then maybe you can have another button there as well. but a button is optional. And even after this one, even though this one here has any free, you can go here and like create an extra thing. Maybe you can like have a box here that if they did this, there would be like a check box or something like that that just says yes, you have completed everything. And that is where this comes in. For example, this is a grid. It's a perfect example. Here there are things here, and here are things here. It's a perfect example because it's a grid. Same here. You have your thing here, then underneath it you have another thing, and then you have a grid of buttons. And even my recorder, it makes great use of grids. So here you have like your title, here you have a button, and here is your first example of a grid, schedule, and there's 2 buttons next to it. So this is how a grid can be used. Now let's actually implement a grid. So a grid starts at 0. I'm just going to, to show you, I'm going to, actually let's do it with C. Okay. So just to show you that you can do it with both of these, I'm going to add a grid here as well. Anyhow, so A and B, let's add a grid string. So we can say .grid, and this will tell TKinter, hey, there's a grid. Then you can specify the row, and it starts at 0. That's where the rows start. And rows, they go horizontal. Columns, they go vertical. And you can say column, and that also starts at 0. Now, if we were to copy this and put this here, and then instead of saying column 0, we say column 1, then let me just maybe, oh wait, I gave this a .pack. You can't pack and grid at the same time here. Save that. Now we go here. As you can see, they're next to each other. As you can see, label A and label B. And now, even if you wanted to, we can then go label C .grid, and I'm going to say, let's say row equals 1, and let's say column is equal to 2. Alright, let's make that 1 as well. And now, as you can see, label A, label B, and underneath label B, there's a label C. So that's the great thing about this grid system, is you can have so much more that you can do now that you have the ability to grid your things instead of just packing them underneath each other. In fact, I wonder if this will work. Yes, here. This can be an example of a packing system because everything is underneath each other. But even though this can be an example of a packing system, once you get here, this can be an example of a grid system. And we'll later get to how you can use a grid within packing and a packing within grid. So yeah, that is the basics of the grid system in TKinter. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all again in the next video.